Well, good morning again, everyone. This is Tom Doran with ABC Computers, and welcome to our presentation today, WMS versus ERP, the Great Debate. Joining us this morning are Adriana and Emmanuel from Solo Globe. We'll be having a discussion about ERP functionality and supply chain management, and when does it make sense to really go beyond what most ERP may have to offer. We want this to be an interactive discussion, so certainly if you have questions, you can use the questions tab, and I will try to moderate that as well, and we'll make sure that we have a few moments near the end to open it up for more direct questions. But now I'll turn it over to Adriana, and she can get started. So Adriana, I'll make you the presenter.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, press show my screen. Okay, well, thank you everyone for being here today. And thank you, Tom, for organizing this. It's always a pleasure to work with you and your team. As you know, Tom, you're often faced with the question, as am I, when do we, stop modifying our ERP? When is it worthwhile investment to go with a more highly functional best-of-breed WMS? So you and I have had this conversation. You're very good at identifying the type of businesses that could benefit with such an investment. So thank you for that. So what we're going to do is we decided to take an approach where we would discuss what some of the inherent advantages and benefits and features you can find in a best-of-breed or Tier 1 WMS. So today's market is it's a highly competitive environment. Companies that need to be very proactive in responding to changing customer needs. For companies' growth and survival, you need to be adaptive and always thinking, where are we going to be in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Something that CIOs would typically ask themselves of when investing in an IT solution that would lead them down the pathway to an IT investment such as a WMS is, what's the nature of the competitive landscape they're working with in? How will the company differentiate itself from its competition? Do you have in-house supply chain experts who can implement best practices and efficiencies and stay current? So basically, these are the type of things a CIO would ask, and we're going to present you with some of these answers because some of these answers are inherent within a WMS with built-in best practices and efficiencies. Giving, an ERP can report very well in terms of financial numbers and statistics, whereas a WMS gives you insight in what exactly is happening within your WMS. So without further ado, I will present you with Emmanuel Langlois, who is Executive Vice President of Solo Globe, and he will present to you some of our functionalities.
So good morning, good afternoon to all, depending on the time zone. So my name is Emmanuel Langlois. I'm the Executive Vice President here at Solo Globe, and today we'll be talking about the WMS best of breed and versus ERP in terms of what is the best solution, the best fit for your organization, and what are the things that you should be considering in order to make the right choice. So today's presentation, so those are the topics we're going to discuss today. So first, I just want to do a quick overview of what is a WMS. There's different type of solution. There's different approach to WMS. So I just want a quick description. What differentiate best-of-breed WMS versus ERPs? There is many aspects that are different, and I just want to touch this quickly. Factors to consider when it's time to decide which is the best approach for your organization. There's definitely a lot of things that need to be looked at, so we're going to cover this. When talking about those factors, I will bring some example of current operation that decided to go with WMS and why they did such, they made that choice. So just give you some example of that. But also some example in terms of what do you expect from best-of-breed WMS in terms of features, in terms of functionalities, And we'll finish with how to decide what is best for you. There's no one perfect answer. There's just the right answer for your organization based on your requirement. So when we discuss about what is the best for you in terms of approach, there's definitely, I would say there's many perspectives, but there's two that are probably very important and will guide the rest of the analysis is the cost factor and also the functionality fit. So a quick overview of what is a WMS. Warehouse management system are systems to actually run a warehouse, run a distribution center. So it covers pretty much from inbound to outbound all the activities happening in the warehouse. So it starts with receiving goods against a purchase order, advance shipping notice, transfer order, etc. And then from then making sure that it moves to the right place in the warehouse in terms of put away. Then after that, when in the warehouse, there's inventory management that needs to occur in terms of make sure that things are at the right place. We have the right inventory. There's replenishment based on different strategy. After that comes the outbound from order management, the wave management, the picking itself, packing, staging, and then more the shipping, starting with the load management, shipping, dock management, yard, and then the other function, labor management, that actually touch all aspects of all activities in the warehouse. The returns, this reverse logistic is definitely for a lot of organizations a very important aspect of the business. So how do we manage it, and what can we expect from a WMS in terms of supporting that function? And then there's quality management, and also other function like kitting. So there's more than that, but I will say that those are the main modules or main function that you will expect from a WMS, providing you the tools to manage all those aspects. So what a best-of-breed WMS does. So those are the things that you will expect that a good WMS will provide you as value or as advantages or benefits. So clearly, one of the main objectives is the optimization of all the tasks performed in the warehouse. You want to make sure that everything that is done right in the most efficient way in order to have the highest productivity as possible and ensure that things are done in the right way. You want to increase the order fulfillment and the order accuracy. Not that other things need to be do not need to be accurate, but if there's one place that you want to be absolutely accurate, is what you are shipping to your customer. Has to be done in the right way and with the right the highest accuracy as possible. Also, you expect to have a real-time and accurate inventory visibility. So as you use a Tier 1 WMS, you expect that everything in the warehouse will be actually accounted for at the right place and with the visibility that you need in order to then optimize all the different tasks. You for sure you want also to optimize the space utilization, space as a cost. So if you are able with the right tool to get very highest space utilization, that means you will have a lower cost of operation compared to not optimizing your space, when you will maybe need then to have a bigger warehouse when you could have done the same thing with maybe a smaller warehouse. And then a faster order cycle time. So those are the main points. There's definitely under this a lot of subject that you could be looked at, but those are the main interesting things that you will expect from the WMS. So really it's to actually go from there to there. And we can imagine that working here and working here, it's not done the same way and you don't get the same throughput. So what are the main differences between an ERP in terms of warehouse management versus a warehouse management system? And this is looking at different aspects, but without going into all the details, clearly one of the main differences is the fact that WMS will look at the inventory from a physical perspective versus an ERP more from an accounting perspective. So really the WMS will provide you very fine detail about where things are in the warehouse. So if I just receive a pallet against a purchase order line, now it's sitting on the receiving dock, it will be visible on the receiving dock. If then I have to split the pallet and I'm sending one box to the QA for analysis and then the remaining of the pallet will move to a staging area, I'll see exactly that now there's a box sitting at QA waiting to be QA released, and then the remaining pallet is sitting in the staging area waiting for final put away. So the idea here is really, the WMS is really focusing on where things are at any time and gives you 100% visibility of where everything is in the warehouse. And that's one of the main objectives of a WMS. Also, because now we really have all the visibility of where things are, now the second thing is optimizing all the movements, everything that moves in the warehouse, where it has to go, in which order, in which sequence, who's the best person to move that pallet now to the next step, okay? So it's really looking at inventory movement and optimizing all those inventory movement. Also, definitely one of the key differences is in order to be able to have all those activities optimized, there's a mobility aspect that is key. So the idea here is to provide information to the user in real time and also have the user conducting all their tasks with real-time interaction with the system. So for sure, using mobile device, what we call, handheld scanner, is key. And this is also something that from a WMS, you will expect to have a lot of flexibility, a lot of configuration ability in order to really make all those mobile processes as optimized as possible. And usually, if you look at the typical percentage of users that would be mobile user using a WMS, it's more than 80%. So this is key, is the mobility in order to have the people using an handheld device receiving real-time instruction, and as they perform their task, they will scan, they will get instruction, they will do all the data capture, and then there will be real-time validation. So now if I'm moving that pallet that we just received, I'm moving it to a location, I will be instructed where to move it, and as I perform that task, there will be validation. Are you moving it to the right place? Is it the right quantity, etc., etc.? And this is true for everything happening in the warehouse, and this is key in terms of what you can expect from a WMS. So the mobility is definitely something that is key, and also in terms of having this real-time interaction. And when I'm talking real-time, it's not only real-time actually with an handheld device talking to the WMS, it's also real-time or near real-time with the WMS talking to the ERP. So the idea here is all this information flow should be very seamlessly integrated, but also as real-time as possible. So again, if I'm receiving against a purchase order, now I'm confirming a new pallet on the receiving dock, then this information should be captured using a handheld device that should update the WMS in real time, and then the WMS should be talking to the ERP to say, hey, against that PO line, we just received a pallet. So now the ERP has the information in terms of on-hand quantity available for fulfillment, sales fulfillment. So one of the reasons people will actually look at improving their operation and eventually considering a WMS, there's different studies that are looking at the current state of warehouse operation and where people see the different trends, and also what do they plan in terms of improving their operation. This is a study from Aberdeen Group. The study was called the Warehouse Productivity Benchmark Report, and those are the reasons that a lot of people are questioning themselves and are considering improving their operation in terms of being a better warehouse. So clearly the cost is still like a very important factor. Margin are lower, so you need to do more with less. So definitely leveraging technology is one way of getting there. Also, there's a lot of pressure of supporting business growth without adding additional facilities, or having to expand an actual facility. And again, it's kind of related to number one point. Responds better to demand supply fluctuation. There's more and more aspect of the business that actually drive require more responsiveness from the warehouse operation. Could be promotion, could be seasonality, product introduction. Customer demand for faster and more time-defined, definite fulfillment. I mean, definitely businesses are expecting to be faster, so your customer are expecting you to be faster. They're expecting you to be more agile, so that is putting pressure also. And the customer demanding for more value-added services or unique fulfillment processes. And this is something we see more and more within the same four walls, supporting different customers that have different needs that require different value-added services is becoming not an exception, but pretty much the norm. So the top barriers to better warehouse performance, interesting, insufficient warehouse technology. Definitely, there's still a lot of warehouses out there that are paper-based. They have very manual processes and very intense in terms of labor, with very bad layout also in terms of warehouse layout. So the technology will definitely improve a lot of those aspects. Visibility in and out of the warehouse is marginal. So the idea here is in order to be good between the four walls, you need to kind of have also visibility outside the four walls, and this has a lot of impact on how good you're going to be between the four walls. So having a capability to manage at a broader span footprint the information, call it supply chain integration, or getting more information through EDI transaction, web portal. You saw a customer web portal, supplier web portal. But the idea is expand the visibility over the four walls. Warehouse layout definitely a key aspect. Poor best practice sharing across location in between business unit. We kind of just talked about this. Lack of IT resources to support warehouse technology initiative. So, and this is key, is something that every time we start a new project, we kind of do an assessment of the current IT capability of the customer, because in order to really leverage a system such as WMS, you need to make sure you have the right staff. And this is true from an operational point of view as well as an IT support point of view. So top motivation for replacing a WMS, desire to have a better WMS in terms of workflow configuration, and also how the tasks are being performed in terms of optimization, how they're being dispatched, how the people actually execute the task. Again, 80% of the warehouse, the user of WMS are mobile users, so if there's something you really want to optimize, it's their work, the way they perform their task, and also how they do interact with the system. There's other consideration here, but definitely, again, there's things, again, access to data, need to enhance labor management capability, etc. So top action being planned or taken to improve warehouse operation, create a more agile warehouse, achieve more productivity, improve visibility, improve warehouse employee productivity, build a new or expanded distribution center, and implement more value-added services capability. Another interesting white paper just been released by Motorola Solutions, and looking at the trend for warehousing until 2018. A lot of interesting number here, and I don't want to go through all those numbers, and this is actually easy to find if you go on the Motorola site, so I encourage you to definitely go and download this white paper. But the idea here is, when you look at all this, is things are not getting simpler. They're getting the growing complexity of warehouse operation, because of all the things that we have discussed, are definitely putting pressure on the warehouse operation to be better, more productive, more agile, more accurate, etc. So the numbers are there, and definitely the warehousing business is a business that is, I mean, complexity is being the reality now, and how to address it. Technology is definitely one of the avenue. It's not the only one, but it's something that should be considered. So those are just numbers, and you can see that when you look at all the different aspects of the business, there's more upside than downside in most of the respondents to that study. Okay, interesting, just when we look here, number of SKU carry, 54% of all organizations expect to have a growth in the next 5 years in terms of number of SKU they will manage within their current operation. Another example here of people looking at better tool for optimizing the load, execution, performance monitoring. So in that study, they look at all aspects of the warehousing, and they have interesting number in terms of trends and where the industry is going and where what to expect in the next few years. So when I kind of look at this with our experience here of things that actually will trigger changes in terms of considering putting a Tier 1 best-of-breed WMS, some of the factor here. One of the things we see more and more right now is organization that within a DC needs to now support different channel. There's organization today that are they will actually support a retail chain, the retail stores. They're selling wholesales, and at the same time they have internet order or catalog order. So within the same four walls, they need to support a wholesale channel, a retail channel, and then a end customer channel through internet orders or catalog orders or even phone orders. So that brings complexity to the actual operation, because the way you will do things will vary based on in which channel you are getting those orders ready. Okay, picking a box, picking a pallet, and how you ship it to the different channel is very different. So how can you have the right tool to be agile doing all those fulfillment, all this different type of fulfillment? So e-commerce also, what is very interesting with e-commerce is when you look at the order profile, you'll end up with, most of the people we talk to or we deal with in e-commerce, they average like a 1.2 to 1.4 item per order. So now you're getting a lot of orders for one goodie, okay? So the way you will actually set up the warehouse, the way you will manage all the wave management, how do you will actually pick, how do you pack, ship, is differently, very different than picking pallets or picking boxes that you ship to another warehouse or store. So this e-commerce has definitely forced a lot of our customer to adapt new practices, and that is definitely something that was addressed with technology for a lot of aspect of it. Value-added services, again, a lot of customers are being asked now to perform on behalf of customers a lot more activities. Could be kitting, could be reboxing, some quality tests sometime. So we see more and more value-added services being requested, and also something that in terms of how you will perform those tasks, you need a system that will support you well in terms of ensuring you are very optimized in terms of execution. A lot of customers requiring now personalization in terms of packaging, in terms of labeling, in terms of documentation. So again, that puts a lot of pressure on how you operate in the warehouse. Automation, there's more and more automation. Could be conveyor system, could be carousel, etc. So that required also to have the right technology. The competitive landscape also, we mentioned lower margin, being able to actually, if you're, example, we have a lot of customer in 3PL, and definitely a 3PL business is a very competitive business. So having the right technology that give you more agility, more also being more productive is key here. And also we have other aspect of it like new legislation. Traceability in the food business is becoming today an imperative in terms of being able to do electronic recall. So again, you can be very manual in tracking all that number. By the end of the day, if you have the right system and the system actually is capturing all the right data, that will help you to provide a better recall capability that can be very surgical in terms of precision, but also very fast in terms of response time. And that's the idea between the electronic recall. So overall, I mean, there's a growing complexity, and as the business is changing. So some example, customer Stonewall Kitchen, where they actually support retail, wholesale, e-commerce business within the same four walls. We mentioned e-commerce. This is a book distributor that does book, all through the web. And you can see that, first of all, you're talking here million of SKUs, and each of the orders are pretty much averaging 1.1 to 1.2 books. So how do you optimize going to a warehouse like this, making sure that it's done in a very efficient way and you're not eating on your margin? Grupo, a customer of us that does a 3PL business, and here the key is all the value-added services that they add to their customer, kitting, with a lot of kitting activities, quality, etc. Navexco, we talked about automation. This is office supply distribution, warehousing where you have a lot of conveyor. There's a lot of logic, all things move, and this is something that in terms of WMS, you need to have a solid WMS in order to make sure that in terms of integration with all the automation, it's done with optimized business logic and optimized algorithm. Another quick example, out of hospital, there's again automation with carousel management, and you have a lot of logic in terms of how the carousel will move, how we assemble it in different toad with some pick to light. There's touchscreen interface. So those are examples of automation, and in order to do this, you need to have the right platform in terms of WMS. We mentioned food traceability. An example, Domino's Pizza right now implementing best-of-breed WMS in 25 DCs, supporting 600 routes, and with the tracking to 5,000 delivery points. All their supply chain integrating also suppliers. This is the, it's called the full supply chain traceability platform, and this again, that project came to life based on we wanted to optimize the operation in terms of material flow and tracking, but also being able to have the best recall, electronic recall capability. And when we talk about traceability, it's not only in the food business. Another customer, Bombardier, when they build a train, they need to track exactly which part is being installed on which parent part. So all the configuration management, so that then we deliver a train to Bombardier, to a New York City Transit example, a subway train, they need to be able to really have the full configuration of the train in terms of assets, serial number, revision number, and all the actual asset life cycle that will follow after when the train is in service. So in order to do this, there's a lot of data that need to be captured all the way to all the warehousing or production steps, and this is something, again, you will require a strong WMS in order to do that. So, so some example of advanced functionality, what you expect from the WMS in terms of Tier 1 WMS. Well, first of all, being multi-sites, so being able to manage a network of sites, being warehouse, being a plant, being some suppliers that you will integrate, some customer that you will integrate. This is key in terms of capability. Also managing the warehouse in terms for really like all the location in your warehouse. I mentioned at the beginning that it's key to actually map 100% of the warehouse because you want inventory to be visible no matter where it is. So if it's sitting on the receiving dock, if it's now a quality insurance area, if it's in this special zone somewhere, you need to have that visibility. So you need to have a very strong tool to really map your warehouse and really after that leverage all the space and actually move things around in the most efficient way. So when you're going to do example put away, you want to make sure that there's in the put away logic some aspect of how you're going to pick after in order to maximize where you're going to put as when you're going to put away as it come inbound. So this is an example of a representation of one alley, and then you can have all kind of stats about turns, if there's an aspect of empty bins, usage of the bins, etc. So a lot of tools that will ensure that you have all the information in order to actually what we call slotting, make sure that you put the things at the most optimized place, and that also we all know will probably change as as maybe because of seasonality or maybe new product introduction, promotion. So how do we manage a warehouse from a location perspective? So you will expect a Tier 1 WMS to really give you good tool in order to have this data to allow you, and even go further than that, will actually propose changes, and we call it now dynamic slotting, about where you should put things considering a lot of different variables. We mentioned the mobility as being important, so this is key. 80% of the user and more will be mobile users. So you need to have a very a tool that allow you pretty much to build your own workflow based on how you want your people to execute their task. So the idea here is all this should be workflow driven in terms of transactions, and should be done in the most optimized way in terms of number of steps and also in terms of business logic. So example, if I'm a receiver and I'm receiving as a purchase order and there's a lot number involved, then boom, I'll be requested to enter a lot number or to scan a lot number. If there's no lot number, I will not ask the question. If there's serial number, I would be asked to enter a number of serial numbers. So all this workflow is key in terms of optimization, because those people performing their task, that's what they do day after day, 100 times a day. So if the last thing you want, and you know, when you walk in the warehouse and you see somebody that is on a forklift, he's stopped the forklift and now he's keying on the handle and he's staying there like for 2 minutes, that's not good. The forklift's supposed to move. You're supposed to get the right information at the right time, right away, and being able to go through that workflow in the most efficient way in terms of steps. So being able to configure those workflow is key. You need a workflow configurator, and you need to be able to build your own and add all the business logic that is required. Also, in the mobility, there's now a lot of technology available. So this is here, you see, example, a wearable scanner with a ring scanner, and there's voice components. So now we have a lot of new ways of combining voice with scanning, etc. So there's interesting things that exist today that will definitely could be a benefit to support a process. Example, when you pick eaches, you pick boxes, you need your hand. So a traditional handheld maybe it's not the right thing. So you could have a wearable handheld with a voice where you will receive voice instruction as you perform the task. It will be a mix of voice recognition, maybe example to if you're sent to a location and there's a check digit, you're going to confirm location by just confirming the check digit, Alpha Bravo. But then when it's time to capture a lot number, it's still a lot faster to scan than see it over voice recognition system. So combining the voice and the voice capability with the scanning capability is something that we see more and more today. There's even other things like, and this is an example of voice and scan. Combining things like a lot of devices today give you the ability to take pictures. So, I mean, taking pictures, something that's been out there for a while, but not taking picture as part of a workflow. So if I'm receiving and there's a damage box, I can just say, oh, there's a damage box, there's the reason code, boom, take a picture. Then that picture can be can trigger now an email to the buyer that is responsible for this material category with the picture, with the reason code, and even we have customers that even send this directly to their suppliers. So a lot of things that are available today in the mobility aspect that is interesting to consider when it's time to provide the right tool to the people. The use of license plate is something key also that you expect from WMS. License plate being a unique number, so this is an example we like to show that identify that vehicle as this Jeep belongs to Mr. Smith that lives at that address, and he doesn't have any, he's not, the police not looking for him. Okay, so a license plate here is a unique number, and you will identify a pallet. You could be a box, could be an asset, and the idea is because it's a unique number, then you'll be able to really track down all the information that is specific to that material instance. So it could be serial numbers, could be a box with 10 iPhone and there's 10 serial numbers, you know exactly where they came in, etc. Because combined with the license plate, and you will see a slide in a few seconds, there's what we call the event management. So now that you're able to identify things uniquely, you are also able to build a complete history of that pallet that came in. It was received by Joe at that date, was put away by Paul half an hour later. All this history is built and key to then generate a lot of management reports, KPI, the example I just gave, you know what time you receive it, you know what time you put away. Then right there you have a stock, dock to stock KPI. And also all the labor management, you know exactly who has done what and what is the performance of every user in the warehouse. So this is a key aspect of what you will look for in a Tier 1 WMS is this license plate capability combined with the event management. But then the license plate could be applied also on the outbound, so now you're picking to a tote, and that tote is for an order or a customer ship to. Then you'll know exactly what's in that tote. You'll be able to validate that you're putting the right item, and then you'll be able to track that tote, making sure it goes to the right place, it's being at the right packaging. Maybe there's other material that goes with that order will come from another zone, so there's consolidation of material that, of the order that need to be done at one point. But this is, again, leveraging the idea of a unique number that you can track in the system, and then the system can also ensure that all the right things are being done and validate the accuracy of everything that is done. So an example of that, this is a customer, Bosch. Actually, when they actually pick to charge it to bring things to a shop floor, and now they use carts that they put a unique number on it. So now they know exactly all the parts here are for which station, and even they put label here for position, and now they know exactly. And now they can track that cart leaving the warehouse, being loaded into a trailer, transferred to the production line, the plant facility, then at what time it was unloaded, and now it's staying on the staging, and now it's moved to the production line, making sure it moves to the right station and the right sequence. So a lot of sophistication you can do when you start having this kind of visibility and this kind of way of identifying things uniquely in the system. Being also able to actually support standards, so there's label standards, all kind of label or reports that a Tier 1 WMS need to be able to support out of the box. So example, now if you receive a part with this type of GS1 128 label where you have different pieces of information as part of one barcode, you need to be able to, with one scan, to actually grab those 4 pieces of information and make sure it populates the right field in the application. So all kind of capability like this. We mentioned event management here. So the example, you see that palette, you see exactly what was done by who, there's a timestamp. That generate a lot of management reports, generate a lot of KPI, etc. But also example, when we talk about traceability, what the traceability is the capability of linking all those events together to really then know what was used against which work order, that was mixed at which production area, and that came, and then WIP track, work in process inventory, where it went, then finished good, how it was distributed. It's all based also on event management. So that then can generate a lot of reports, a lot of analysis that provide you then all kind of information in order to understand a bit better your operation and then improve. Also, it's important that all this information now need to be available in real time, so having the capability to use this information in real time over different platforms. We see more and more now warehouse manager walking around in the warehouse with tablets, so now they can look at all the wave execution, the outbound execution, reassign resources, change priority, monitor in real time all the activity. This is key also now, and this something that is now available, and we see more and more, use of tablet example on the shop floor or the warehouse floor. We mentioned interceptor. Now it's an interesting concept, and when I give the example of damaged good, being able to also based on event trigger different signal, different example, email or SMS to the people that tells them, oh, this is what's happening 2 minutes ago in the warehouse. Okay, so also communicating that information about warehouse operation to the different people responsible, being customer service, being quality department. This is also interesting features. So from a receiving point of view, a good WMS will definitely allow you to do a lot of logic in terms of all you are receiving, and then being able to optimize the next step as a put away. So example, if things are going to different zone, you'll be able to consolidate by zone. You can have different multi-receiver working on some purchase order. We have a lot of customers receiving sea containers from China now. So when they open a sea container, they're receiving against multiple POs, so capability to receive against multiple PO, and all this reconciliation is done behind the scene. Those are all things that will make our people more efficient on receiving dock. For the put away also, you will expect the WMS to give you a lot of different business, different option in terms of how you want to put away, optimizing the space, optimizing the use of in terms of how after this things will be picked, etc. So there's a lot of logic here in terms for how you will construct your zone, the different type of bins, being a fixed pick bin location, being a floating bin location. So all this flexibility that exists will allow you to really then optimize the put away. Then the next step will be the picking or the outbound, and this is key again, because when you look at warehouse activity, the picking and replenishment usually accounts for more than 50% of the labor cost. So if there's one thing you want to really optimize is the picking, and when you look at the picking itself, you'll realize that just the traveling time, most of the time is more than 50%, and then the search time and selection confirmation is a small part. So how you can actually optimize the travel time? How can you ensure that there is no search time? Okay, those again is functionality or option that you will expect from a Tier 1 WMS. So in terms of picking and all the outbound, there's a lot of ways of doing it, and the idea here is to optimize the travel time. So call it, there's batch picking, cluster picking, zone picking. There's a lot of flexibility. It's not usual. I mean, today, if you look at a site of, I will say 50, 60 people, you will end up with maybe 10 or 12 different picking strategy based on the zones, because clearly a zone will define usually a way we pick. If we pick bulk by the pallet, it's not the same picking rules, picking strategy that if you're picking example here from a floor rack to a cart. But the idea here is you need a lot of flexibility in WMS, how you will actually create the pick job and all the pick algorithm in terms of optimization, and all what we call the pick path, which is how you will actually have your people walking around getting the stuff in the warehouse. So this is an example of a pick and pass over a conveyor, and you will see that, some people, there's different zone you can create, and this is a way you will optimize the picking over a conveyor like this. There's sometime also we'll pick 2 carts, and now you're doing some batch picking, cluster picking, ensuring that by the time somebody shows up to in front of the bin, he picks everything that is required for more than 1 orders. And sometimes you can even go to system more sophisticated with pick to light, being on the cart or even on the bin. So all this is actually will be, depending on your operation, what is the best way. It's part of the implementation of WMS. You need to have the right people, expert that looks at different options, and based on what's available in WMS, you will then configure the application accordingly. So when would best of breed WMS make sense for my operation? And this is the big question. The first aspect that you really need to look at is the cost factor. Definitely putting in place such system as a cost, and you have to look at it in terms of making sure that this is something that in terms of return on investment makes sense. Okay, so the idea here is, yes, maybe the WMS functionality or a capability in the ERP is sometimes perceived as a no cost from a license point of view, but at the same time, if it's not the right tool for you, but there's maybe opportunities that you are missing, or you won't have the same type of productivity, and that as a cost. So those are the things that you really need to look at in terms of the global picture to really understand what is the best approach for you. So when you look at how you can actually categorize things, I think there's two factors that needs to be looked at in to the two axes, one being the size of the operation and the other one the complexity. So after a certain size, because the number of people involved in the operation or the number of square feet you have in the operation, for sure you will probably need then a more sophisticated tools. Same thing on the complexity. So the complexity of your operation in terms of value added, in terms of number of SKUs, in terms of supporting different multi-channel, you will probably also then need a better system or more advanced system. So if your size of operation is small, complexity not too complex, I mean, definitely using the WMS that ERP that is included as a module in the ERP is probably the right approach. And I mean, you can do a lot and you will be efficient enough, okay? Or sometimes we see also, I'll call it WMS Tier 3. They're not really WMS, they're called stock locator, and that will provide you some mobility with some transactions that are directly connected in your ERP. Those are low-cost systems. They give you a little bit of mobility, more real-time. This is also a good avenue if the size of your operation is not too big and the complexity is not too high. So I will say that today a good trigger is under 20 operator, and when you have a warehouse of 50 square feet more and less, you're probably falling into a category 1 we call, which is, yeah, you're probably good with your ERP and maybe some extension in terms of mobile transaction using stock locator system or a basic WMS, okay? Over this, then there's probably some benefits that you should be considering using a more advanced system that will provide you all the things that we have discussed previously. So this is not a bad way of looking at things as a benchmark in terms of which category, but definitely over 20 operators and 50 square feet, I will then be looking at what's out there in terms of WMS that can maybe improve my operation. And when you fall into this category with 50 operator, more multi-zone, multi-channel, good-sized warehouse, then definitely you should be looking at a strong WMS, advanced, best of breed tier 1. There's a lot of adjectives out there, but something that will really give you all the tools and all the capability in order to optimize the operation. So this is a good way to kind of understand where you fit and then look at, okay, what are the things that should I be considering a WMS best of breed? Also, when you will then look at the WMS out there, you need to then kind of understand the landscape of WMS solution. WMS solution has been around for a lot of years. It's a mature product in terms of a mature solution.
and definitely there's different type of WMS. So we like to categorize them in 4 categories here. The lagger, which is old system, legacy system, black and white screen, no flexibility at all. And I mean, some of those systems do a good job, but they're definitely old, and you should not be looking at solution that falls into that category. The has-been are solutions that are strong, robust solution. They're definitely not as updated as the lagger, but they falling a little bit behind in terms of technology. So they're still a good choice for certain verticals, because some of those guys are very focused on providing best of breed for specific vertical, but they're definitely not, in terms of the technology, they're not leveraging the latest technology. Then there's the new kids. Those are web-based technology. Also, a lot of the people here are in the SaaS mode, software as a service. But again, they could be a good option, but they're usually basic in terms of functionality. And then the leader, really the people that are leveraging the latest technology in terms of web-based, SOA, open architecture, web services integration. We mentioned the configurable workflow capability. There a lot of flexibility in terms of zero modification deployment, so you're capable of really configuring the system the way you want without having to do any custom code. So those are definitely the people, the WMS that you should be looking at in terms of what's available out there. In terms of functionality, I mean, there's no perfect answer to this. Everybody's different. So the idea here, as an exercise, you need to come up with a list of requirements, a list of things that you need, and then start comparing solution, having the send an RFP, having the different vendor responding to the RFP, and then after that benchmarking each of the solution with scripted demos and things like that. And then at the end you'll see who has the best fit. Definitely not all WMS are equal, like I mentioned. Some of them are very good in certain verticals. So when you're looking at solution, you need to really at the end of the day get to the detail of, for each function, exactly understanding what you want, and then look at what's available in the system. But again, configuration and flexibility is key, and what you're looking at is a system that gives you that, because what you need to today or what you think you need tomorrow, probably it's going to be different in here, because like we mentioned, things are changing and they're changing fast. So you want your system to be able to support not only what you need tomorrow, but give you all the flexibility to actually accommodate any new needs that will occur in the next few years. Also, the system integration, how the system is integrated with the ERP is key, and there's different technology out there, but again, there's example web services that really leverage some XML, structure file, things like that, that allows you to have very tight integration, seamless integration, and this is something important. Because now that you have decided to go outside your ERP, it has to be well integrated, and this is key if you really want this to be smooth, is the integration between the ERP and the WMS need to be very tight with all the business logic that is required. So just a quick view on solution structure as you look at WMS, because now, as I said, the cost factor is important. And this is just a quick example of a customer lately. And this is pretty much the actual how you will look at cost. For 45% is usually 50% is services, about 25% equipment, 25% licenses, and 5% others, others being the label that you will need in the warehouse, the servers, etc. So when you look at this, this is an example of a warehouse with 20 operators, 100 square feet, 200 order line. That was the actual cost structure. And what's interesting is now understand the ROI. So what is the potential ROI on such project of about $250,000? And when you look at the numbers here, you see the costs here. There's different things that we were able to look at in terms of potential ROI. And the idea here is you see that clearly this is the initial cost that you'll have to spend at the beginning, but then when you look at the different period, you're looking right now at ROI of 1.3 years and the saving after of about $500,000. Okay, so this is not unusual in terms of payback period, 15 months, and also the type of ROI, the type of saving you can have. WMS, if implemented right, is something that you can have a return on the investment 6 months to a year, and then definitely after that is money in the bank, and it's definitely what we all want. So I will leave you with one last aspect. Now that you have decided to go with potentially implementing a WMS, best of breed WMS, the next step is the implementation itself, and this is key. We see very often people buying the best system in the world, but when it's poorly implemented, then you don't have a success at the end. And if you want to reach the kind of benefits that we're just talking about, then the implementation methodology is key in order to ensure that you get to where you want to be as fast as possible and then start having the benefits. So this is a white paper we have available, so definitely I will encourage you if you're interested to contact us. And those are pretty much the different aspects that you have to look at when you are looking at implementing such system. So this is pretty much it in terms of presentation. So quickly, Solar Globe, we're a company out of Montreal, 14 years in the WMS business, providing WMS solution. Our market is North America, but goes as far as Australia and South America, but still a lot of focus here in North America. We're very, we do a lot of ERPs, but we're very committed to the Microsoft Dynamics ecosystem in terms of ERPs, being GP, Nav, and AX, but we do also other ERPs, ACP, PeopleSoft, GD Works, but the Microsoft Dynamics ERPs are definitely something that we have a lot of momentum right now. And we provide warehouse management system with some extension into the manufacturing, assets, transport, EDI, and then the sliding carousel, 3PL billing, and voice recognition. A lot of customers in different industries, some very large customer, some smaller customer that has 15, 20 people in the warehouse, and we provide the solution for those people and in the different verticals. So this is it for me. So I would like to, at this time, maybe there's 5 minutes left, 3 minutes left. Definitely, I will encourage, if you have questions, Adriana, she introduced me at the beginning of the presentation. Those are her coordinates, so any question, you can contact her, and she will make sure that we answer you back as soon as possible. Also, I would like to thank our friends at ABC Computers being a co-sponsor of today's webinar. So thank you for inviting us today to present about this interesting topic of the WMS versus ERP. And I will thank everybody for attending today. And I don't know if we have time for questions or...
We've got just a couple of minutes, Emmanuel. Does anyone, if you have questions, if you'll type them into the question box, I will certainly try to field them, and we'll see if we can't answer them here in the next 2 or 3 minutes here. I did get a note from a suspiciously French fellow that said you did a very nice job, Emmanuel, so thank you.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
So as Emmanuel mentioned, if there's questions, I do have one coming in here. So how long does it typically take to deploy a WMS system?
This is a project usually that will take 3 to 6 months. Again, if we're looking at a warehouse, one site, 30, 40 people, medium level of complexity, you're looking at 4 to 6 months. Okay, 3 months if you really make it fast, but usually it's more 4 months. And one of the reasons is the customer need to really get involved. And this is true right from the beginning with super user understanding the solution, because it's very important that first you get comfortable with the solution quickly, but also you take ownership of it in terms of your solution for your warehouse. And I mean, it's difficult to get into a project and expect people to just quit their normal day-to-day job to be just 100% focused on the project. So just that makes it difficult to, and it takes a little bit more time, okay? Because it's something that the reality is nobody can just quit their job and just be focused on the WMS project.
One more question, thanks, Emmanuel. Is in-house customization, is that possible?
What you're trying to avoid is custom code. Today, there's a solution out there that through configuration will allow you to actually address specific needs, unique needs, without having to add one line of code. And the mobile transaction and the workflow configurator I was mentioning today, this is an interesting example, because you can actually build your own workflow from scratch with all the business rules and without having to actually go in the code itself and do some unique modification. Because if you're able to do with what we call a zero modification deployment, then you always stay, you actually will make everybody's life easier in terms of how you will maintain the solution in time when it's time to upgrade to a newer version, etc.
Great. Well, Emmanuel, Adriana, thank you very much. Thanks to everyone who's attended today, and we appreciate your time and attention. The recorded presentation will be on our website certainly by tomorrow. If you have questions, you see the email there, and you certainly know how to get a hold of me. So thanks to everyone, and have a great day.